Uh, if I talk about myself, and if I start talking about myself, I'll have to go back to my childhood where I started. Because who I am right now is not something, it didn't start yesterday. Of course, it started from my childhood. I come from a Kashmiri Muslim traditional family where we were already told what roles you have to be in. There were already some boxes decided for us, of course. We don't only sort of decide for the roles, we also inherit them. So there was one decided for me that I was supposed to only study till graduation, and further I was supposed to get married and just behave like a very humble Muslim girl, covered whatever. I was part of that structure as well. But there was something inside me which told me that this is not working. ये मेरे लिए नहीं बना है. There might be other girls who find comfort in that. There might be other girls who are fine with that. I was not. So my father observed that there is some streak in this girl that she is, of course our parents would say she is not normal. ये normal बच्ची नहीं है. ये चिड़चिड़ी रहती है, ये हर बात पे उल्टा जवाब देती है. So I was labeled as a baghi when I was in my 8th class. For years I started thinking that मुझे बागी क्यों बुलाया जाता है? Why am I a rebel? Why is this not normal? A woman thinking that I might do something with my life and I am very passionate about building something. Why is this not normal? So I started asking around other women. मेरी mother थी, बाकी ladies थी. I started asking कि क्या हमारे यहाँ लड़कियाँ नौकरी नहीं करती, क्या ज़्यादा पढ़ाई नहीं करती? Why is it not normal if I'm questioning everything? So my mother said, you know what? It's normal for girls to study, go for further studies, go for jobs, but there are some barriers जो औरतें क्रॉस नहीं कर सकती. आपको हया में रहना पड़ता है, आपको पर्दे में रहना पड़ता है, आपको घर की इज्जत का पूरा community honor and family honor is of course with you. So I started thinking that isn't it too huge of a responsibility कि पूरी community की इज्जत मेरे सर पे है? How am I going to deal with this? So one fine day I told my father कि you know what, पूरी community का ठेका मैंने नहीं ले रखा. जिसको जो करना है वो करे, I'll deal with my things. So when I started with the journey, I realized that when you start thinking that you're first into something, say for example, first in the family to move out and then work and study, there are no paths for you. Nobody laid paths for you. आप खुद ही अपनी example बनते हो, आपकी example कोई नहीं बनता. So as I'm standing here, the first PhD in my family, the first woman who has left her house working outside, the first getting married to a Hindu, it's like lot of things, and rebel I kept justifying along the way. जितनी बार चीज़ें आई उतनी बार मैंने जस्टिफाई करना शुरू किया कि हाँ मैं रिबेल हूँ और मैं बाकी फैसले भी अकॉर्डिंगली लूँगी क्योंकि मैं रिबेल हूँ. So when I first traveled to United Nations, I was 24, and of course I was the first from my family and my entire community to go to United Nations and represent women. I was asked, आप क्या कर रहे हो? What is it exactly you do? And if you still ask me, I would be confused. कि मैं क्या करती हूँ? The best answer I have for this is that I am passionate towards something. I have a passion to do something for Muslim women, and I keep doing it in any way possible. When I was in UN and I was advocating for women's rights in Jammu and Kashmir, the women back there in Kashmir started attacking me because it's something very different for them. They started asking कि why are you doing all of this? We don't need your help. हमें ज़रूरत नहीं है कि बाहर जाके कोई पर्दे से बाहर आके ये हमें बताए कि औरतों के rights क्या है. And I told them, you know, मेरे सामने कोई नहीं था जिसने मुझे बताया कैसे करना है. I just want to leave something for you people. And they don't understand, of course. While the journey continued, I realized that when you are a person who's coming from a different state and that to a place which is very homogeneous in nature, you try to merge into heterogeneous communities, and then there are different set of challenges. यहाँ पे दिल्ली में people would ask, आप मुस्लिम हो क्या? आप मुस्लिम लगते नहीं हो. And I'm like, Muslim कैसा लगना चाहिए? How do you expect a Muslim should look like? And then people would often say, नहीं मुस्लिम को हमने इतना मॉडर्न तो नहीं देखा है. Okay, and what if there are outliers? Have you explored this part that there are outliers in every community? हर जगह है. And it is now a journey that everywhere I go, I keep justifying who I am. And along the way, I have understood that something, being vulnerable is not a weakness. Earlier, it used to felt like an attack. कि सब लोग आपको ऐसे क्यों बोल रहे हैं कि आप ऐसे दिखते हो, आपको ऐसे दिखना चाहिए, आपको ऐसे बोलना चाहिए, आप इस कम्युनिटी से हो तो आपको पर्टिकुलरली ऐसे बिहेव करना है. Now it doesn't feel like an attack. It feels like, yeah, you know, I forgive you for not knowing. It's fine. अगर आपको नहीं पता है तो कोई बात नहीं. So along the way I realized जो Muslim females है मेरे आसपास भी है, उनके लिए अब मैं थोड़ा alien जैसी लगती हूँ. Because it's like somebody who doesn't, for them it's like who doesn't look like us, who doesn't speak like us. So where is the space for people like me? आपकी अपनी कम्युनिटी तो कह रही है कि आप हमारे जैसे नहीं हो, आप दूसरे कल्चर में आ गए, वो भी कह रहे हैं आप मुस्लिम जैसे नहीं हो. So how am I supposed to behave and how am I supposed to look like? ये सारी journey I think gets explored more when you study. I am still of the traditional mindset that पढ़ाई के बिना कुछ नहीं हो सकता. I'm sorry if I sound very old, but yes, I do still believe, because it's not primarily I'm talking about degrees, कि आपको डिग्रियाँ लेनी है. It's about knowledge, gaining knowledge, understanding. आपके दिमाग के काफ़ी सारे जो पैरामीटर्स है वो खुल जाते हैं. Your brain becomes very dynamic when you try to understand what all is happening in the world. And that only happens when you study more, learn more, keep yourself open for exploration. Now you will ask me that why am I standing here? मैं आज यहाँ पे क्यों खड़ी हूँ? It's not only because, again, I am a Muslim woman, I did something for Muslim women, that's not why I am here. I am here as a senior research analyst who teaches and studies women, peace and security. Again, a subject which is not very normal for females. Peace and security. आपको security के बारे में क्या समझ आएगा? You are all of a sudden in a room full of older men who are deciding security for this country. And then when you put your opinions forward, they'll be like, आप अभी छोटे हैं, आपको अभी नहीं security समझ आएगा, because we have of course senior security people here. And it did start feeling like that, are they right? Am I important enough or not important enough to put in my opinions about security, peace and security? Then I realized that the females who come from a conflict zone are sort of pre-equipped with understanding and navigating how to do things in a conflict area. मैं जैसे अगर फायरिंग इंसिडेंट है, स्टोन पेल्टिंग इंसिडेंट है, मैं उसमें से खुद को कैसे बचा लूँगी, शायद दिल्ली का बच्चा वो नहीं कर पाएगा. So I consider myself pre-equipped to deal with what is happening in conflict. Is that already not a tool? No doubt, indigenous systems and indigenous knowledge systems को हम उतना जो traditional knowledge होती है उसको हम आजकल उतना importance नहीं दे पाते हैं, because we think that whatever is into a Western structure of peace and security is the only reality. But that is not. हमारे जो अपने traditional systems है, traditional knowledge है और traditional understanding of peace, conflict, anything. You go to northeast areas, you will understand the women there already knowing about peace negotiations, already knowing about peace and security studies, and that's how it is for Kashmiri women. We know how to navigate those things. And if you top it up with some, of course, understanding and knowledge of proper academic knowledge of conflict, then it does give you an edge over your subject. But in a room full of older men saying that how security should look like for India, no, I don't fancy that. Because, of course, I am coming from a region where I would know. Not that I'm not, it might be a shortcoming as well, but I started doubting myself along the way, thinking that maybe they're right. But over time, I realized that just because you're young, that doesn't necessarily mean that what you think has no value. You might try to tweak it a bit, you might try to back it up with facts, but that doesn't entirely negate the fact that what you're saying is not true or is not right. So the transition from, I was at that place, and the transition from that to this stage has been, of course, very painful. Because as I said, when you are the first to anything, you don't have roadmaps. You build the roadmap. While it does sound very exciting, it's quite painful as well, because you start doubting yourself, people start doubting you, and your own family, your own relatives will start doubting you. And people would often ask, what are you doing? Say for example, if I'm doing research, the first thing in India, everybody would say that, आप पढ़ा क्यों नहीं रहे? अगर आप PhD हो, आप research कर रहे हो, senior हो, तो आप university में पढ़ा क्यों नहीं रहे? क्योंकि females के लिए पढ़ाना is like something very good for them, because आप सुबह जाओगे, midday में वापस आओगे, family life balance. It's very good for you. जब बच्चों के summer vacations होंगे, आपके भी summer vacations होंगे. You spend time with family. Am I here for summer vacations? Did I leave home for summer vacations? Did I came all this way to see कि मेरे बच्चों की छुट्टी कब है? I mean, yes, that might be one of the priorities later, but not right now. I don't feel like the only way of explaining women in research or something is that they should teach in a university. I am trying to build something. And that doesn't fit into any academic structure. And that's why I am a rebel. And I love being one. And in the end, I think I would leave you with one thought. And that's how the best I could explain myself. जहाँ भी आज़ाद रूह की झलक दिखे, समझना वो मेरा घर है. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. आपने